Good afternoon, everyone. This is Beyond the Label. We are the podcast that is being held by Hill Country MHDD Centers. My name is Tyler Townsend, and I'm the communication specialist, and I'm also a peer support specialist.
I'm Kelsi Wilmot, Director of Community Development.
And I'm Theresa Alexander, Clinic Director in Llano.
One of the things that we wanted to bring up today before we get into our main topic is the upcoming event at Louise Hays Park for the July 4th. Kelsi, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that is in partnership with the Arcadia and Kerr together. Let me just pull up the right date so I don't say anything wrong. So it's the Unity of Hill Country Weekend of Hope and Healing, and this is remembrance events for the tragic floods that occurred in Kerr County. And it starts off July 3rd and runs all the way through July 5th. Some of the things that are happening are the Arcadia's live faith and fellowship concert, and that is at Louise Hays Park on the 3rd from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I know our Hill Country CCP team is going to be out there. It's going to be called kind of like Chill with the CCP team. They're going to have our mobile mental health van out there with some nice lights, nice refreshments. And this is just an opportunity for people to enjoy live music, have a healing opportunity. And in addition to that, the Kerrville Pets Alive group is having a remembrance for all the pets that were lost in the floods. And then on 4th of July, that's our big celebration, kind of like what we do every year, live music down by the river. William Beckman, who was slated to play last year, is coming back and playing, and he is incredible. He's a great musician. Once again, free for the community, and our CCP team will be on site to provide emotional support because this is a hard time. This is a really hard time. I know for me, I'm having to remove myself from the situation and going back up north to visit family and just kind of getting out of Kerrville in general. So just do what you need to do during this time. If you're hurting, sit with those feelings and figure out what's best for you.
And if you need somebody to talk to, you're more than welcome to come on down and talk to the CCP team. They'll be there to help provide emotional support and whatever it is you need to. Or even if you're just needing an escape, I think it's a wonderful area with a bunch of amazing community members that's going to provide a lot of great support for one another during that day.
Yeah. And then also our emotional support center is open, 819 Water Street. Come and go. It's a great place just to sit back and relax. They have a massage chair that I like to plug in and utilize, and people on site that are ready to listen and hear what you have to say. And let me give you all that number real quick. It's 830-955-1745. And if you're in a crisis or anything, if you would like to call or text 988, a crisis therapist will be on site for you for that.
Awesome. So we have the wonderful opportunity today to have one of our wonderful directors that supports the Llano County community come forth and wanting to really share a topic about rural mental health in general, especially with all the counties that we cover. We think it's a very important topic. So we brought Miss Theresa here on the show to kind of share a little bit about that. So Theresa, where do you want to kick off?
Okay. Rural mental health, rural services in general have been a passion of mine for a long time. I grew up in a small town and I continue to live in small towns. So I see a need all the time. People that need support, mental health services don't have the same access that they do in urban areas. And I have a master's degree in human services, nonprofit management, and leadership. And I started a doctorate program. So I really focused in the doctorate program on the rural services, the lack of rural services. And I've found some very sad, disturbing things along the way because, for instance, 75% of our youth that need mental health services don't get those services in a timely manner when they live in a rural area. And our rural areas have a higher rates of depression and anxiety and suicidal attempts because there aren't the services to get to out there. So that's one of the big things I've looked at, and how to find it, because the resources are also short. We need more community support to get those resources out there. Yeah.
And you said you grew up we talked a little bit before this, so we kind of have a backside about Theresa. She said she grew up in a farm in Iowa with the town of 500 people.
Yes.
So she understands what it's like to truly be in a rural community. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that influenced you and how you became who you are because of growing up on that farm?
I have no brothers, and I'm the oldest, so I did a lot of farm work on the
Mhm.
farm that son would normally do. So that created a work ethic in me that I'm very proud to have. You don't see that all the time, but also it's isolated during the summers when you live in the country. You don't see your friends
Yeah.
so much. It's very isolated, and that's one of the reasons why those rates of depression are pretty high. Too much, but there was some abuse in my life at a
Mhm.
young age. And so depression set in at about 10, and there were no services there. And
Mhm.
I don't think anybody recognized that I was dealing with that. Kids don't recognize it for sure.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I became an adult that
Yeah.
I went looking for services because there just weren't any. And back then, that was a long time ago.
No.
Mental health was looked at, the stigma was really bad back then.
Yeah.
So stigma has improved, but it's still there, especially in rural areas.
Yeah, because you definitely
Absolutely.
have that mindset growing up in a rural area. You throw some dirt on it, you're fine.
Yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Mhm.
But you can't always do that.
Yeah.
Yep. That was kind of my experience growing up. I'm from Junction, which is about 45 minutes from
Mhm.
here. And same sort of concept, very small town, very limited resources. But the one thing that we kind of dealt with a bit more of was community gossip. So the moment
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
found about you're going to get support or help, everybody in town knew
Yes.
you were chalked up
Yeah.
using terminology that's not very
Yeah.
person centered. And it was almost kind of like a ostracization.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You couldn't do anything in that small town
Yeah.
without the whole town knowing what you were doing. So teenagers did not get away with
Yeah.
a whole lot.
No.
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 But I definitely know that from personal experience that it can be very
Yeah.
limiting to have people want to go get help because they're
Mhm.
worried about their information getting
Mhm.
out.
Yeah. And keeping a lot of things as hidden as possible.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody see it, even though you know that you need help. But everybody's going to think you're a horrible person if you need help. That's just part of small town life. And unfortunately, there's still some of that out there.
Yeah. It truly is. I grew up in Ingram, I did go to school in Kerrville. So living in Ingram too, there wasn't things growing up like a cafe bar to even have Wi-Fi to be able
Mhm.
to get those telehealth services. And I know right now there's only one therapist in Ingram, and that person is usually inundated with clients. And it is that stigma of, oh, if you see that car at that clinic, you know what they're there for, because everybody knows each other's cars and
Mhm.
everybody's
Yeah.
bumper sticker. So I guess my question is, how do we kind of reduce those barriers to care, reduce that stigma? Is it having these open conversations? What do you think can help?
So open conversations for sure. But one thing that I'm really love, and
Mhm.
I actually am an instructor for it, is mental health first aid.
Whoop.
Yeah, love mental health
Yeah.
first aid. It is amazing, and I love getting to educate people on that. So I think that's very important because that's one way, especially in rural communities, to help the community members understand what it's like, that it's not really anything different than a physical ailment in terms of how you address it and support people
Yeah.
and give them the skills to be able to be a support.
Yeah. And I know we kind of talked a little bit about stats too during our little lunch. And one kind of stat that I found interesting was there's 254 counties in Texas. And of those 254 counties, 178 are considered federally designated mental health professional shortage area, meaning more than half of our counties don't have the right people or the right workforce to
Mhm.
provide those services. And my doctorate is in recruitment and retention and rural mental health care shortages. And one of the big things has been the lack of pay. Because why would you go to a rural area when you can get paid twice as much in an urban? But
Right.
we kind of spoke a little bit before this about the pros of actually living in a rural community.
Yeah. Cost of living is cheaper for the most part. So you don't need as big an income
Yeah.
to live well. But also, just your mental health can be better because you don't have the traffic to deal with every day. You don't have the constant noise. When you go home, you actually have quiet where you can have some peace and really decompress after a long day. So There's definitely positives to being in a rural area and more physical activity usually in the Llano Burnett area that's right along the water. All
Yeah.
kinds of boating activities and fishing and hiking and swimming and all kinds of things to stay active. And that's good for your mental health.
Absolutely. But the other thing that's really good about small communities in rural areas is, yeah, we do have the caveat of people being gossipy and having that stigma still be present, but there's also a lot of really good folk out there. It was last week we were in San Antonio, very polar opposite, not as much as a, hey, how you doing or how's it going? Whereas in a small town community, you can walk in the grocery store and you're gonna run and have people and it's always, how are you doing? How's everything? How's your family?
Yeah, true support.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And as much as some of our communities give people hell, they can also be some of the most caring people because even during the flood, this community came together so much for each other. And I think that's really something more in rural areas. And I think that's extremely beautiful.
Yeah. It's a lot easier, I think, to reach out to a neighbor when you actually know their name and maybe know where they work and actually have conversations with them sometimes. Whereas in the city, if you want to hide in plain sight, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
You're never going to walk by the same person twice on the street.
Yes.
And that's actually one of the things that whenever I was providing peer services, I would tell people is even if you don't have a strong support system, what about the gas station clerk that you may cut a joke with anytime you go in to get gas or your morning coffee, or the bank teller when you go and deposit your paycheck or go bill, or the same doctor provider that you've seen for years that y'all have gotten into a routine of just knowing how things are going. That's something you don't get in urban areas or big cities.
Correct. And still in the rural areas, there's a higher rate of depression and anxiety and suicidal ideations because there is some isolation out there. So how do we take that isolation and the community support and bring it together to decrease those things? That's something that I really want to be able to address and find a solution for.
Yeah. And what kind of ideas do you think would help support that or bridge that gap? Because that is something, I don't know, it's something that I struggle with understanding as well, is because we all know that we're hiding or holding deep pains and more or less like everybody else is experiencing these things or have gone through something similar. But if we're open about these things and we're able to kind of provide that safe harbor for people, maybe we can save that one person.
Yeah.
But do you have any,
like I said, the mental health first aid, but then continued education in the school, start young, educating kids that it's okay. Everybody has struggles and it's okay to be open about it. Share our own stories.
Yeah.
I have a lot of lived experience in that area and I'm not afraid to share that story.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do that just to say, hey, you can go through those things, those very bad struggles and come out the other end.
Yeah.
And be even happier with who you are. I think that's part of it too.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about mental health first aid and how it's a free program? I know we'll have Amy Anderson on later, but let's just give us a treat about mental health first aid if you can.
It originated in Australia.
Did not know that.
Yes, it did. And so their mascot is the koala bear.
Oh,
yeah,
algae. That makes sense.
We actually met Algae last week.
Yeah. And I think it's now in about 25 different countries.
Wow.
And started with just adult mental health first aid. And now there's youth mental health first aid. And they also have teen mental health first aid, which is taught to teenagers to provide support to each other. Cool. And it addresses stigma and what to look for and how to be calm. Someone's struggling, like the little duck on the pond. He looks so calm, but underneath he's just rattling. Yeah.
First aid for your brain.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful way. It's like, we all know how to do CPR. We should kind of know how to do CPR generalized, but like, it's basically CPR for mental health. And I think that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah. And this was the like a complete thing for me to become an instructor for, because I'm
Mhm.
also a certified CPR first aid instructor.
Nice.
So now I can do all of
Yeah.
that.
Mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting down to our last question, and we usually ask this question with everybody who comes in, and what's your reason why? Why is being involved with rural mental health and getting that information and that support out there, why is that important to you?
Because of my lived experience. I would hate to see anyone else go through the challenges that I've been through in life. And so if I can make it better for just one person, that makes me very happy.
Thank you, Theresa. Really appreciate you sharing that with us, and really means a lot that you're willing to put all the hard work and effort for the rural areas as much as anyone's able to do. God,
I just want to be
I'm-
friends with her, though. That's what I'm saying. I just want you to bake me cookies and tell me I'm okay. Like, you
Yeah,
just get out really nice. Thank you
It
so much.
always catches me off guard because hearing people's whys are always just very
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. So thanks for being a leader and a champion for rural mental health.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah.
Of course. So that's going to be a wrap for us again today. We just wanted to give a reminder about our ESC Emotional Support Center information and our crisis line for any and all for those who may be struggling during this time and need somebody to reach out to, or somebody to share the space in and kind of sit in the shadow with you.
Yeah, and definitely take care of yourself. For my Kerr County folks and anybody that has been impacted by the floods and kind of struggling with the remembrance date. Yeah, we're here for you. We're all here for you. Let's just be kind. Bye.